My name is Lily, and I am 34 years old living in the beautiful and very hot city of Austin, Texas. If you have ever been to Austin in the springtime, you know that the entire world turns a bright and vibrant green because of the heavy rains that wash over the hill country. It is a time of year when the bluebonnets line the highways and the smell of cedar and damp earth fills the air. But for someone like me, it is also the busiest time of the year because I have a side hustle cutting yards for people all over the city. I have always been a person who enjoys working with my hands, and there is something incredibly satisfying about taking a yard that looks like a wild jungle and turning it into a neat and manicured carpet of green. I started my little business a few years ago just to make some extra money for my savings account because living in Austin is getting more expensive every single day, and I wanted to make sure I had a solid cushion for the future. I pride myself on being honest and reliable, and my customers usually appreciate that I show up when I say I will, and I do exactly what I promise to do. My world is usually filled with the sound of my lawn mower engine and the feeling of the sun beating down on my shoulders, and I generally like the people I work for because most folks in Texas are friendly and understand the value of hard work. However, there was one customer named Zin who had always been a bit of a challenge for me. Zin lived in a nice part of town, but she was the kind of person who never seemed to respect the time or effort of the people who worked for her. She had been a customer of mine about a year ago, but she was always trying to haggle over the price or complaining about small things that did not matter. She would let her grass grow until it was nearly waist-high, which is much harder on my equipment and takes twice as long to cut, and then she would act surprised when I told her it would cost extra for the heavy labor. I eventually stopped hearing from her, and I was honestly relieved because life is too short to deal with people who make your job harder than it needs to be. But then the spring rains came, and they were heavier than they had been in years, which meant every lawn in Austin was growing at a record pace. My phone was ringing off the hook, and my schedule was completely full with loyal customers who treated me well and paid me on time. Out of nowhere, I received a text message from Zin asking if I could come over and cut her grass as soon as possible. She sounded desperate in her message, and she said the yard was a total mess, and she needed it done immediately. I looked at my calendar, and I knew there was no way I could fit her in without letting down my regulars, and I also remembered how difficult she had been in the past. I did not want to deal with the overgrown mess she always left for me or the headache of her personality, so I decided to do her a favor and refer her to a friend of mine named Bentley. Bentley is a true Texas original, and he is what many people would call a redneck, but I mean that in the best way possible because he is one of the hardest working men I have ever met. He does great work, and he has all the heavy-duty equipment needed for a big job, but he is also a man who does not take any nonsense from anyone. He believes in a fair day of pay for a fair day of work, and he does not have a lot of patience for people who try to play games or act entitled. I sent Bentley a text message to see if he was looking for extra work, and he said he had some openings, so I gave his phone number to Zin and told her he would take care of her. I thought I was doing something nice for both of them by helping Zin get her yard cut and helping Bentley make some extra cash, but I had no idea that I was setting the stage for a massive headache that would test my patience and Bentley's temper. Bentley went out to the property a few days later to check out the job, and he called me to tell me that the place looked abandoned. He said the grass was so tall that he could barely see the bottom of the fence, and there were weeds growing up the side of the house like they were trying to reclaim the building for nature. He also noticed that there was no furniture inside the windows, and it looked like Zin and her family had already moved out, which explained why she was in such a hurry to get the yard done. She probably needed it to look decent for the landlord or for the new owners, but she had not mentioned any of that to me or to Bentley. Bentley is a professional, so he did not care why she was moving, he just wanted to get the job done and get paid for his time. He spent several hours in the hot Texas sun pushing his heavy mower through the thick grass and trimming the edges until the property looked better than it had in years. He was covered in sweat and grass clippings by the time he was finished, but he was proud of the work he had done. He took clear pictures of the yard before he started, and then he took more pictures after he was finished to show Zin exactly what she was paying for. He sent those pictures to her, along with his digital payment information, and waited for a reply, but the silence was deafening. He did not hear a word back from her that afternoon or that evening, which was strange because she had been so demanding about getting the work done quickly. He waited until the next day and tried calling her, but the phone went straight to voicemail, and he sent her another polite text message asking if she had received the photos and the bill. Again, there was no response at all, and it started to feel like something was wrong. Bentley called me later that day and told me that Zin had gone totally silent on him, and he asked if I knew what was going on. I felt a pit of guilt in my stomach because I was the one who had sent him into this situation, and I knew Zin could be difficult, but I did not think she would just ignore a bill for honest work. I told Bentley I would try to contact her myself and see if I could get an answer out of her. I sent her a message saying that I had referred my friend to her and that he had done a great job on her lawn, and I asked her why she was not responding to his messages or paying him for his labor. I told her it was not right to treat people that way, especially when he had gone out of his way to help her on short notice. I waited for hours, but she did not reply to me either, and it became very clear that she was intentionally ignoring both of us. It felt like a slap in the face, because I had put my reputation on the line by recommending Bentley, and now he was out several hours of hard work and the cost of gasoline for his equipment. I felt so bad about the situation that I called Bentley and told him I would give him $20 out of my own pocket just to cover his gas and the hassle, even though it was not my fault. Bentley is a proud man, and he did not want to take my money because he knew I was just trying to be a good friend, but he was definitely frustrated, and he told me he was not going to let this go easily. He said that people who think they can just walk away from their responsibilities need to learn a lesson, and I could tell by the tone of his voice that he was planning something, although I did not know what it was yet. The next few days were tense, and I kept checking my phone hoping to see a message from Zin, saying there had been a misunderstanding, but the message never came. I felt like I had failed my friend, and I hated that Zin was getting away with being so selfish and dishonest. It is one thing to be a difficult customer, but it is a whole other thing to steal someone's time and effort by refusing to pay them. I kept thinking about her move and how she had left the house empty, and I realized she probably thought she was invisible now that she was no longer living at that address. She likely thought that since she was gone, she could just disappear and never have to face the consequences of her actions. But Zin did not know Bentley as well as I did, and she did not realize that he was not the type of person to just sit back and let someone take advantage of him. A couple of days later, I was sitting at home after a long day of work when my phone rang, and I saw it was Bentley calling me. I picked it up, and I was prepared to hear more bad news, but instead he sounded oddly calm and almost cheerful. He told me that he had finally gotten paid, and I was absolutely shocked. I asked him how in the world he managed to get the money when she was ignoring all of our calls and messages, and he began to tell me the most incredible story of how he tracked her down and made sure justice was served. It turns out that Bentley had decided to drive back to the house one more time just to see if anyone was there, or if he could find any clues about where Zin had gone. When he got there, the yard still looked great because of his hard work, but the house was still empty and quiet. He saw a neighbor outside working in their own garden, and being the friendly guy he is, he walked over and started a conversation. He asked the neighbor if they knew where the woman who lived there had moved to, and the neighbor was more than happy to talk. The neighbor told Bentley that Zin had moved out in a big hurry and that she had told everyone she was going on a 3-week-long vacation with her children, and after that, they were moving out of the country entirely. This news made Bentley's blood boil because it proved that she had absolutely no intention of paying him, and she was probably laughing about how she had tricked a local contractor into doing her dirty work for free before she fled the country. Bentley noticed that some of the broken fence panels on the property had been replaced with new wood, and while he was talking to the neighbor, a car pulled into the driveway of the house he had just mown. A man stepped out of the car and looked around at the property with a critical eye. Bentley realized this must be the landlord or the owner of the house who was there to check on the condition of the place after the tenants had left. Bentley decided to take a chance and walked over to the man to introduce himself. He told the owner exactly what had happened, and he did not sugarcoat anything. He explained that Zin had called him to do an emergency mow because the yard was a disaster, and that he had spent hours getting it back into shape so the property would look good for the owner. He showed the man the pictures on his phone of what the yard looked like before he started with the grass reaching up to the windows, and then he showed him the photos of the finished product. He explained that he had tried to contact Zin multiple times and that she had completely ghosted him and refused to pay a single cent for the work. He also mentioned what the neighbor had said about her going on vacation and leaving the country. The owner of the house was a very reasonable and empathetic man, and as he looked at the yard and then looked at the photos of the mess, it had been he got a very frustrated look on his face. He told Bentley that he had been having issues with Zin for a long time and that she had been a difficult tenant who did not take care of the property properly. He was actually relieved that the yard looked so good because he was trying to get the house ready for new renters, and he knew how much work it must have taken to clear out that much growth. The owner asked Bentley how much he had originally quoted Zin for the job. Bentley, being a smart man and knowing that he had spent way more time and effort than he expected and had to deal with the stress of being ignored, decided to quote a higher price for the hassle. He told the owner a price that was essentially double what he had originally planned to charge Zin because of the extra labor and the fact that he had to hunt someone down just to get an answer. To Bentley's surprise, the owner did not even blink or try to argue. The man reached into his pocket and pulled out a thick roll of cash and counted out the full double amount right there in the driveway. He handed the money to Bentley and said that he was sorry for all the trouble his tenant had caused and that he appreciated Bentley's honesty and hard work. But the best part of the story was what the owner said next. He told Bentley not to worry about the money because he was going to make sure Zin paid for it in the end. He said that he still had her full security deposit, which was a very large amount of money, and he was going to deduct the cost of the lawn care directly from that deposit before he sent her whatever was left. He also mentioned that since she had left the place with broken fences and other issues, he would be taking even more out for repairs. Bentley was grinning from ear to ear as he told me this, because it meant that not only did he get paid double for his time, but Zin was actually going to lose that money from her deposit anyway. She thought she was being so clever by ignoring our messages and thinking she could just leave the country without paying her bills, but her plan backfired in the most poetic way possible. Instead of paying the fair price that Bentley had originally asked for, she was now effectively paying double because the landlord was taking it out of her own money. It was the perfect ending to a frustrating situation, and it made me feel so much better knowing that she did not get away with her dishonesty. I told Bentley that he was a genius for going back to the house and talking to the landlord, and we both had a good laugh about how entitled people often end up being their own worst enemies. I learned a big lesson through all of this, which is to trust my instincts when it comes to certain customers and to always have friends like Bentley who know how to stand up for themselves. In the end, the yard was cut, the landlord was happy, the property looked great for the next tenant, and the person who tried to cheat a hard-working man ended up paying twice as much as she should have. It was a classic case of what goes around comes around, and in the city of Austin, Texas, where the sun is hot and the grass grows fast, justice sometimes comes in the form of a landlord with a roll of cash and a sense of fairness. I am still out here every day cutting grass and enjoying the smell of the outdoors, but I always make sure to keep an eye out for people like Zin, and I know that if I ever get into a tough spot again, I have friends who have my back. This experience really solidified my bond with Bentley, and we still talk about it whenever we see each other at the local hardware store or when we are grabbing a cold drink after a long shift. It is a story that reminds me why I love my job and why it is important to always do the right thing, because you never know who is watching or who might show up to settle the score. The way Bentley handled himself was a masterclass in quiet determination, and the landlord showed that there are still good people out there who value hard work and will not let someone get stepped on. Zin is probably somewhere across the world right now wondering why her security deposit return was so much smaller than she expected, and I hope she thinks about that lawn every time she looks at her bank account. As for me, I am just going to keep my mower sharp and my eyes open and continue being the best lawn care professional I can be in this wild and beautiful state of Texas. The rains will come again, and the grass will always grow, but I know that as long as I work hard and stay honest, things will work out in the end. And sometimes the universe has a funny way of making sure the right people get exactly what they deserve. I remember feeling a sense of peace that evening after talking to Bentley, and it was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I did not have to feel guilty anymore, and I did not have to worry about the money. The situation was resolved better than I could have ever imagined, and it gave me a great story to tell. I think about the look on Zin's face if she ever finds out how it all went down, and it makes me smile every single time. She tried to play a game of hide and seek with a man who knows every inch of the city, and she lost. That is the thing about people who try to cheat others. They always assume they are the smartest person in the room, but they forget that hard-working people have a lot of common sense and a lot of grit. Austin is a big city, but it can feel like a small town sometimes, and word travels fast when someone is not acting right. I am glad that the landlord was a man of character, and that he did not let Bentley walk away empty-handed. It just goes to show that even when things look dark, and it seems like the bad guys are winning, there is usually a turn in the road that leads back to the light. I will continue to refer my friends to jobs, and I will continue to help my neighbors, but I will be a lot more careful about who I vouch for in the future. Life is a long series of lessons, and this one was definitely one for the books. I am proud of the work we do, and I am proud to be a part of a community where we look out for each other and make sure that fairness prevails. The sun is setting now over the Texas hills, and the air is finally cooling down a little bit, and I am ready to get back out there tomorrow and do it all over again. There is more grass to cut and more yards to beautify, and I am happy to be the one to do it. It is a good life, and stories like this one just make it more interesting and remind me why I do what I do every single day with a smile on my face and a mower in my hand. I am lucky to live in a place where people still care about doing the right thing, and where a little bit of redneck ingenuity can solve a problem that seemed impossible. So here is to Bentley, and here is to the honest landlords of the world, and here is to the lessons we learn along the way that make us stronger and wiser, and a little bit more careful with who we trust our time and our talent with. The story of Zin and the double payment will be told for a long time in our circle, and it serves as a warning to anyone who thinks they can outrun their debts or outsmart the people who keep their world looking beautiful. It is a simple truth that you reap what you sow, and in this case, Zin sowed a lot of tall grass and a lot of lies, and she reaped a very expensive bill and a lost reputation. And that is exactly how it should be in a world that makes sense. I am Lily, and I am a lawn care professional in Austin, Texas, and I know that honesty is the best policy, but a little bit of revenge is a close second when it is served up this perfectly. I hope everyone who hears this story remembers that being kind and fair to the people who work for you is not just the right thing to do, but it is also the smartest way to live your life. You never know when you might need that person again, and you never know who they might be friends with. Austin is a city of connections, and I am glad my connections led to such a satisfying conclusion to a very messy situation. Now I am going to go enjoy my evening and get some rest so I can be ready for the next yard that needs my help, because in Texas, the grass never stops growing, and neither does the need for good, honest people to take care of it. It is funny how a simple job like cutting a lawn can turn into such a huge drama, but I guess that is just how life is sometimes. You expect a quiet afternoon, and you end up in the middle of a battle of wills, but as long as you stay true to yourself and your friends, you will come out on top. I am thankful for the people in my life who show me what integrity looks like, and I am thankful for the strength to keep going even when things get tough. Austin will always be my home, and I will always be proud to work under its big open sky and do my part to keep it looking great 1 yard at a time. The sound of the crickets is starting up, and the stars are beginning to peek through the clouds, and I feel good about where I am and what I have accomplished. This is the end of the story about Zin and her yard, but it is just another chapter in my life as a Texan woman who knows the value of a job well done and the importance of making sure everyone gets what is coming to them in the end. It was a long journey from that first frustrated text message to the final moment when Bentley got his cash, but every step was worth it to see justice being done in such a poetic way. I will never forget the lesson, and I will never forget the way it felt to see a bully get their comeuppance without even knowing it happened, until it was too late to do anything about it. That is the best kind of revenge because it is clean, and it is fair, and it is final. And now I can finally put this whole thing behind me and focus on the future, because there are many more lawns to mow and many more bluebonnets to see, and life is just too good to spend it worrying about people who do not matter in the long run. I am ready for whatever comes next, and I know that I have the tools and the friends to handle it all with grace and a little bit of Texas toughness. It is a beautiful night in Austin, and I am going to make the most of it knowing that everything is exactly as it should be. The grass is short, the bills are paid, and the sun will rise again tomorrow on a city that I love and a life that I am proud to live. I have spent many years working different jobs, but this lawn care business has taught me more about people than any office job ever could. You see people at their best and their worst when you are working on their homes and their private property. You see the ones who offer you a glass of cold water on a 100-degree day, and you see the ones who close their curtains and pretend you do not exist until they have a problem. Zin was definitely one of the latter types, but her behavior only made me appreciate my good customers even more. My business has grown quite a bit since that incident, and I have even considered hiring some help during the peak season. But for now, I still like being out there on my own or working alongside friends like Bentley when the jobs are too big for one person. There is a sense of freedom in being your own boss and being responsible for your own success or failure. When Bentley called me with that news, it was not just about the money for him or for me, it was about the principle of the thing. We live in a world where it feels like people are constantly trying to cut corners and get away with things, and when you see someone actually get caught in their own trap, it gives you a little bit of hope. It reminds you that the rules still apply and that being a decent human being actually matters. I have told this story to a few of my other regular clients, and they all have the same reaction. They laugh, and they shake their heads because they know exactly the kind of person Zin was. It has actually helped my business in a weird way because people know that I am connected to other professionals who take their work seriously and do not let people walk over them. It creates a sense of mutual respect between me and the people I work for. I also made sure to send a thank you note to the landlord, even though I did not know him personally, because I wanted him to know that his actions meant a lot to us. He did not have to pay Bentley double, and he did not have to take it out of the deposit, but he chose to do the right thing, and that deserves recognition. In a city that is changing as fast as Austin, it is important to hold on to those old-school values of fairness and accountability. The new high-rise buildings and the tech companies might be changing the skyline, but the people who live and work on the ground are the ones who keep the spirit of the place alive. I am proud to be one of those people, and I am proud to call myself an Austinite. Every time I drive past that house, now, I take a quick look at the yard, and if it starts to look a little shaggy, I just smile and remember the time that it was the center of a great Texas revenge story. I do not know who lives there now, but I hope they are taking good care of the place, and I hope they have a better relationship with the landlord than Zin did. As for Zin, I truly hope she learned something from this even if she never admits it to anyone. Maybe the next time she hires someone to do a job for her, she will think twice before she tries to ghost them. Maybe she will realize that the world is smaller than she thinks, and that her actions have consequences that can follow her even when she tries to leave them behind. But even if she never changes, it does not matter to me anymore, because the situation was handled and the debt was settled. I have a lot of work to do this week, and the weather forecast says more rain is on the way, which means the grass is not going to slow down anytime soon. I need to make sure my equipment is in top shape and that I have enough supplies to keep going through the weekend. Bentley and I are actually planning to team up on a big commercial property next week, which will be a lot of work, but also a lot of fun. We work well together, and we know we can trust each other to do a great job. It is good to have partners you can rely on in this business. My life is full and busy, and I would not have it any other way. I love the physical challenge of the work, and I love the feeling of being tired in a good way at the end of the day. I love the community of workers and small business owners here in Austin, and I love the stories we share. This one just happens to be one of my favorites. I am going to close my eyes now and get some sleep because 5 o'clock comes early, and those lawns are not going to mow themselves. I can hear the distant sound of traffic on the highway and the wind blowing through the oak trees outside my window, and it is a peaceful sound. Everything is right in my world, and I am grateful for every bit of it. Good night to Austin, and good night to all the hard-working people out there making their way in the world. May your grass be green, your mowers be sharp, and your customers be honest and fair. And if they are not, I hope you have a friend like Bentley and a landlord like the one in this story to help you set things right. It has been a long day and a long story, but it was a story worth telling, and I am glad I could share it with you. Life is full of surprises, and you never know what is waiting for you around the next corner or in the next overgrown yard. But as long as you keep your head up and your heart honest, you will be just fine. That is the Texas way, and that is my way. I am Lily, and this has been my story of revenge and justice in the heart of the Lone Star State. I am going to sleep well tonight knowing that the world is a little bit more balanced than it was before, and that feels better than any amount of money ever could. But the extra $20 Bentley tried to give me back was a nice gesture too, even though I told him to keep it for a celebration dinner. We all deserve a win every now and then, and this was a big one for the good guys. I can still picture the green grass of that yard and the satisfied look on Bentley's face, and it is the perfect image to end on. The story is complete, and the lesson is learned, and now it is time for rest and the promise of a new day tomorrow. I am ready for it all, and I am happy to be right here in Austin doing exactly what I love. The world is a big place, but it feels just right tonight. I am proud of who I am and what I do, and I am proud of the people I call my friends. We are the backbone of this city, and we are not going anywhere. We will keep working, and we will keep growing just like the grass in the springtime, and we will always make sure that things are done the right way. That is a promise I intend to keep for as long as I am able to push a mower and breathe in the fresh Texas air. It is a good life indeed. I think about the many times I have been tempted to give up on the side hustle when the heat gets to be too much or when a machine breaks down at the worst possible moment, but then something like this happens, and it reminds me why it is all worth it. It is not just about the money, it is about the stories and the people and the sense of accomplishment. It is about knowing that you can handle whatever life throws at you and that you have a community that supports you. I have lived in other places, but nowhere feels like home quite like Austin does. It has a soul and a spirit that you cannot find anywhere else, and I am so glad I get to be a part of it. The way the community comes together to help each other is something truly special. Whether it is a neighbor sharing information or a landlord doing the right thing for a stranger, it all adds up to a place where people actually care. I hope that as the city continues to grow and change, we do not lose that spirit. I hope we always keep that sense of fairness and that willingness to stand up for what is right. I know I will do my part to keep it alive, and I know people like Bentley will too. We are a certain breed of people here in Texas, and we do not change easily. We value our independence, but we also value our neighbors and our friends. We know that we are stronger together than we are alone. This whole situation with Zinn was a perfect example of that. If Bentley had tried to handle it all by himself without talking to the neighbor or the landlord, he might never have gotten paid. But because he was willing to reach out and connect with others, he found a solution that worked out for everyone except the person who was trying to do wrong. It is a powerful reminder that we are all connected and that our actions impact the people around us in ways we might not even realize. I am going to take that lesson with me as I go forward, and I am going to use it to be a better person and a better business owner. I want to be the kind of person that people can rely on and the kind of person who stands up for others when they are being treated unfairly. That is the kind of legacy I want to leave behind. And who knows, maybe one day I will have a story of my own about helping someone else in a tough spot and making sure justice is served. That would be a great way to pay it forward. But for now, I am just going to focus on the small things like making sure my mower blades are sharp and my gas tank is full. Because sometimes it is the small things that lead to the biggest adventures and the best stories. I am so glad I decided to answer that text message from Zinn all those weeks ago, even though I did not want to. If I had just ignored her, I would never have had this experience, and I would never have seen my friend Bentley get the justice he deserved. It is funny how things work out sometimes. You think you are avoiding a problem, but you are actually walking right into a great opportunity. I will keep that in mind the next time my phone rings and I see a name I do not want to talk to. You never know what might happen if you just say yes and see where the road takes you. It might take you to an overgrown yard in Austin, Texas, and it might lead to a story you will be telling for years to come. And that is the beauty of life. It is unpredictable, and it is exciting, and it is full of possibilities. I am ready for all of it. I am Lily, and I am a Texan, and I am proud of my story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed living it and telling it. It is a story of hard work and honesty and a little bit of sweet revenge, and I think that is something everyone can appreciate. Now it is time to turn off the light and let the quiet of the night take over. The world is at peace, and so am I. Good night and stay safe out there. I am looking forward to tomorrow and all the new stories it will bring. I am sure there will be plenty of them, and I will be right here ready to live them and share them. Because that is what life is all about, and I would not have it any other way. The end of this story is just the beginning of the next one, and I cannot wait to see what it is. It is going to be great, I just know it. Texas forever and Austin always. I am out for the night, but I will be back at it again in the morning because the grass is calling and I have work to do. See you out there under the sun. It is going to be a beautiful day. I can feel it in my bones. And if I see Zin anywhere, I will just give her a friendly wave and a big smile because I know something she does not, and that is the best feeling in the world. Justice is a dish best served with a side of freshly cut grass and a double payment in cash, and I am the one who helped serve it up. Life is good, truly good. One last look at the stars and then it is time to dream. The crickets are singing me to sleep and the world is right. Everything is as it should be, and that is all I ever wanted. Final thoughts on a long day, but they are all happy ones. I am a lucky woman to live this life, and I am going to make the most of every single minute of it. No more Zin, no more worries, just the open road and the green grass and the bright future ahead of me. I am ready. I am so ready. Bring on the morning and bring on the work because I am Lily and I am the best at what I do and I have the best friends in the world. And that is all anyone could ever ask for. Good night for real this time. It has been a pleasure. I am going to sleep like a baby and wake up like a champion. That is the plan and I am sticking to it. Talk to you later. I am gone. The silence is nice. The peace is even nicer. I am happy, just happy. And that is the best way to end any story. The end of the line for this tale, but the start of so many more. I am glad we could spend this time together. It was fun. It was really fun. Take care and remember to always pay your lawn person. You never know what might happen if you do not. Just ask Zin. She knows all about it now, or at least her bank account does. And that is enough for me. Good night and goodbye. I am off to Dreamland. See you in the morning. It is going to be a great day. I just know it. Everything is perfect, just perfect. The end. Actually, the end now. I am stopping. Really. Goodbye.